Welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kurosh, and today we are in Santa Barbara Design Center with a dear friend of mine, Leesa Wilson-Goldmuntz. Her style is unmistakable, and she's always a pleasure to work with. Leesa, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
It's always a pleasure. Tell me how you first became a designer.
I first became a designer because my husband and I moved a lot. And I found myself in London and in Greenwich, Connecticut, upstate New York. And I realized I didn't like paying for other people's finished products. I'd rather support my own creative endeavors by buying houses that needed fixing up.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't know that. What are your inspirations?
My inspirations usually are my clients or the houses. I have a friend who calls me the house whisperer. The houses talk to me. They tell me what they want to be when they are done. And clients are great because the first question I always ask a client is, how do you live? What do you want to do in this space?
That's wonderful. Which elements do you most like to incorporate into a design?
Again, it goes back to the client. I like making sure that they feel really comfortable in their space. If they're a particularly colorful person, then I make sure that the colors that surround them energize them. I always ask what colors somebody doesn't like because that's really important, especially before you paint.
True.
And I like incorporating natural elements. I think it helps make a home feel grounded with the surroundings, inside and outside.
I have done enough projects with you to know you are from A to Z. I remember your last project, in fact, was so many colors in there, and you made it amazingly beautiful. So,
yes.
How do you work a client's personal items or antiques into a project?
Again, it's that exploration stage with a client when you first meet. You talk to them about what they have, what they want to keep versus what they want to get rid of. Often I'm called in to do renovations or freshening up. Sometimes it's a completely new house for a person and they have another house, so everything's new. But it's important to make sure if somebody wants to bring something with them, you know why, and you know the significance it holds for them. And then you celebrate it, like the carousel horse we did that had been the mother's that she'd given to her daughter that we found a great spot for in the living room.
Yes, I do remember that. Wonderful. What are the differences between staging and designing?
That's a great question. As you well know, 50% of my business is interior design and the other 50% is staging. I have two arms to my company. Staging is almost the opposite of interior design. Staging makes sure that a home that's going to be marketed for sale appeals to the widest possible pool of buyers. So you show, as I always like to say to my staging clients, light and air and space. You're selling square footage. You're selling the details of the house. And when a house is too cluttered with the people who have been living there or their things, suddenly you're looking at the people and not the house. Design should reflect exactly who lives there, and you should walk in and say, oh, I know these people. This looks like them.
That's wonderful. Well, when we come back, I want to hear more from Leesa about how she approaches staging a home. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. There is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. Today I want to talk to you about chairs. Chairs come in many different styles and shapes and classical, modern, or transitional look. This particular one is called Sarah, and it is a stationary chair, is a modern look. This particular one is a recliner and is leather and is a very classical look. This one is Barrack and is a swivel glider. Swivel gliders are my favorite chairs and they're addictive. And it is in a transitional look. It is not modern, it is not classical, is in between, a marriage between them all. And my favorite one is the Santa Barbara chair. We make these out of washable linen, and we make it with blend down inside of it, which is down and angel hair. Most comfortable, and is a swivel. If you want to see any of these chairs in person, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive. In this edition of Michael's Minutes, let's talk about sofas, be it classical, transitional, or modern. The style you choose should be based on your personal preference. Once you have a style, selecting the right size and shape for your space is critical. We offer loft seats, sofas, sectionals, and sectionals with a return. The next step is selecting the right fabric for your lifestyle. You can choose from casual to durable, even washable. Last but not least comes the comfort of your sofa. We carry many materials like high-density foam that you can cover in polyester, down, or premium angel hair for maximum comfort and support. I invite you to come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive Street and select your dream sofa. Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. I'm here with my good friend Leesa Wilson-Goldmuntz, and we are talking about staging. Leesa, thank you for being here again.
You're welcome.
How do you define a staging?
Staging has become far more popular in the last decade. It's one of those jobs that didn't exist 15 years ago. The advent of the internet, the advent of marketing your home for sale online before somebody ever comes to see it, really changed the game. A lot of times people in the olden days would drive up to a house and there'd be a sense of arrival, and it's like, oh, how pretty, and there's a big tree, and you opened the front door and you smelled cookies baking, and there was a first date. Now, oftentimes people see houses, I like to say, in Dubai at 2 a.m. in their pajamas in bed, and they're scrolling through a screen. So there's not a sense of arrival, there's a sense of immediacy. Pictures, in that respect, have made staging really important because you need to show the light, the space, the air, as I referenced before. They need to understand what the house looks like, how big the room is there light, is there air, because they can't see it in 3 dimension. So taking pictures is really important, and I think people have gotten pickier. Buying a home is a really important thing, and there's an expectation level, especially here in Santa Barbara. Things need to look done. I like to say, if you're going to go on a first date, you're going to shave your legs. Staging is shaving your legs. It's getting ready for your date.
Absolutely true. It is actually very true, because I remember the olden days, as you mentioned it. I bought the 3rd house I saw. My first home was the 3rd house I saw, and I just go, wow, that's the one I have. But nowadays people look more and they check more, and the first impression is what they get out of the staging, and that's why you are needed. Very good. So Leesa, how do you go about staging a property?
Well, like I said before, houses talk to me. They tell me what they want to be. I think what I always do is ask the real estate agent I'm working with, who do you think your buyer pool is? Who is this house going to sell to? If it's a 2-story in a good school district, there's a very good chance that's going to sell to a family. If it's a single story, there's a great chance it can sell to people coming into the market or people downsizing who want one level. It's important that the inside of the house reflect what the outside of the house looks like. Frequently, have you ever walked into a house that's like a cottage, and then you walk in and suddenly it's really like modern or very Victorian, and you think, oh, wait, I thought I was going to go see a cottage. So if somebody is looking for a cottage, what I try to do is reinforce that aspect of the house, because that's what someone expects to see. So when it's a book in the cover and you open it up, and the story should be what the title says.
That's wonderful. How does the size of a property affect your plan for staging?
Well, it certainly affects the amount of inventory, which then also affects the price. The more inventory you put in, the more expensive it is. Having said that, some houses speak for themselves. A lot of times you don't have to stage every room. Sometimes if a house is occupied, you can just enhance what happens in some of the rooms. Perhaps you take out some clutter, freshen pillows, bring in one or two pieces that feel perhaps more current or lighter than a customer might have.
What can a staging give a property versus an empty one?
I had a real estate agent tell me once that why she thought it was important to stage this particular house is because she wanted to give people a reason to slow down rather than running through an empty house. It's very easy if you walk into a house and it's empty to go, okay, here, and you run through the rooms, you're like, bye, see you later. So staging helps tell the narrative of a house. People sometimes aren't very visual. It's important in a master bedroom, for instance. I always put a king bed in it if it'll fit, because always a guy wants to know, where's the bed going? Like, where's the TV? Like, how big can I get a king bed? Oh, I can, yay. So if you show rather than tell, it's half the battle.
You're full of knowledge. It's amazing. You're good. So what was the result of your most successful staging project?
Let's see, I've probably staged over 200 houses. Currently I have things in 40 homes. I think the fastest staging job was one that got a full price offer at the open house and a backup offer, and they waived contingencies, and we moved things out 5 days after we moved things in.
Amazing. Actually, I remember that project.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to say, when you do a staging, the house looks so much nicer. And actually, I have seen it that they bring more money than people are asking for.
Statistics, data can be manipulated, but statistics frequently bear out the fact that a staged home usually sells more quickly than a home that isn't staged. And no house is going to sell if it isn't priced right. So it's really important. I mean, we can make something look pretty, but if the price isn't right, then there's a disconnect with the buyer. So you have to make sure you've done your research. That's why you hire a good real estate agent. And then again, you shave your leg, you shower, you get ready for your first date because you want to make a great first impression.
That's absolutely true. When we return, we are going to talk with Leesa about her approach to designing a home and what inspires her. We will be right back. Coming up next on Design Santa Barbara.
Welcome to Rugs & More. We provide the West Coast with the most comprehensive collection of new Oriental and antique rugs. Rugs are solid art investments and often become cherished family treasures. Our limitless inventory will warm up your home. Exotic or traditional, tribal or modern, our rugs weave stories through intricate patterns, compelling colors, and touchable materials. #1 in Santa Barbara for over 20 years. Visit us today at Rugs & More, 410 Olive Street in Santa Barbara.
Today I want to talk to you about chairs. Chairs come in many different styles and shapes and classical, modern, or transitional look. This particular one is called Sarah, and it is a stationary chair, is a modern look. This particular one is a recliner and is leather and is a very classical look. This one is Barrack and is a swivel glider. Swivel gliders are my favorite chairs and they're addictive. And it is in a transitional look. It is not modern, it is not classical, it is in between, a marriage between them all. And my favorite one is a Santa Barbara chair. We make these out of washable linen, and we make it with blend down inside of it, which is down and angel hair, most comfortable, and is a swivel. If you want to see any of these chairs in person, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive. Thanks for joining us on Design Santa Barbara. We have been talking with expert stager and designer Leesa Wilson-Goldmuntz. Leesa,
Yes.
how do you approach a new design project?
I always start with the client and a really great conversation. What are your hopes and dreams? What are your needs? How do you want a space to function? That rolls into budget and that rolls into timing. It's important to make sure the customer is really open and honest with you about what they want, and that way you can deliver a product they're happy with because they've given you enough information.
How do you go about selecting a color palette? I know that's very important, but how do you go about a color palette?
Well, in a couple of our earlier shows, we always talked about starting with the rug. And I like to work with, again, that question and answer period with a client. What are your favorite colors? What colors do you hate? And then depending on the size of the job, I like to make sure that rooms relate to one another. So it doesn't have to be an entirely blue house or an entirely red house, but I like to say there's theme and then there's theme park. And we like theme, not so much theme park. So a house can have a pop of this color or that color, and it can be sort of the thread that ties everything together. All the rooms shouldn't look the same, but they should look like, I tell clients, it's like when you see a family portrait. You realize everybody's related because they kind of look alike, but they're not triplets. True.
What is the most difficult project you have ever taken on?
I think timing is always a challenge. I had a boss who once said, there's never time to do it right, there's always time to do it over, which I don't like. If you give a designer enough time to deliver a product, you'll be happy with the product. It's Santa Barbara. I frequently have clients call, and a lot of times they're clients I've worked with before, and say, oh, did I forget to tell you I bought a house and we close on the 16th and we want to have a party on the 23rd.
Yeah, no, I know that very well because I had to come up a few times making you things in a week. I remember that.
So thank you for making me things in a week.
Thank you for putting it on.
It's why I color my gray hair. It's important to make sure that customers understand that there is a creative process and there is a lead time, and if they give you enough time to do your job, the end result will be much better. Having said that, having the design center here, having rugs here is really great because it is an easy way to swing by. You've seen me run in more than one time in yoga pants and clipboard and say, I need that and that and that and that, and have the boys meet me in 20 minutes.
You make my day anytime you show up. Thank you on that. Another question, do you prefer a hands-on client or do you like to have full control over projects?
I love hands-on clients. Having said that, there's hands-on clients and then there's also trusting the designer. I had a client I've done about 5 jobs with. He likes moving. And he had worked with the designer previous to me, and I asked him why he had chosen me as a new designer. And he said, my other designer forgot it was my house.
Oh.
And I thought that was really important information. Sometimes people don't know what they want, and you have to help flesh that out. So that's important to do color palettes and styles, and if they say modern, is it really transitional? But some people know exactly what they want. And then some people think they know what they want, but they really don't. So a good designer can help flesh that out. You read between the lines or you ask questions. I love it when people give me enough free rein, and I frequently say, trust me on this one, I'm gonna order this. If you don't like it, I'll take it back, but I need you to trust me on this one. And most of the time, it's like, oh yay, I didn't realize that's what this room needed, but thank you. Yes, it was actually a gilt coffee table.
Wonderful. Now I have seen that actually, and I tell everybody they should just let you do it because it's gonna be the most beautiful thing ever. But thank you for clarifying that. So which styles do you prefer to work in?
I want to make sure that a client feels comfortable in their space. I have worked with nice people who have their grandma's antiques, and we've honored that, and we've done sweet cottages, and I've worked with clients who love industrial and urban, and they have big soaring rooms, and we've done things that are 10 feet tall. I like making my client's vision come to life, and the end result for any project for me is if my client walks in their room and says, "This is what I had in mind, but it was better than I could have done."
And that happens a lot. I can testify to that because I come sometimes with you, and yes, you're always good at that. This has been very fascinating. I would like to thank my dear friend Leesa for coming today. I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I have. Stay tuned. There's more Design Santa Barbara coming after the break. Today I want to talk to you about chairs. Chairs come in many different styles and shapes and classical, modern, or transitional look. This particular one is called Sarah, and it is a stationary chair, is a modern look. This particular one is a recliner and is leather and is a very classical look. This one is Barrack and is a swivel glider. Swivel gliders are my favorite chairs, and they're addictive. And it is in a transitional look. It is not modern, it is not classical, it is in between, a marriage between them all. And my favorite one is a Santa Barbara chair. We make these out of washable linen, and we make it with blend down inside of it, which is down and angel hair, most comfortable, and is a swivel. If you want to see any of these chairs in person, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive. Interior designers today, they're using a lot of contemporary and transitional rugs, and that's a segment that has been growing for us over the last few years. They come in many different natural fibers. I recommend you to get one that's hand knotted instead of hand tufted. This particular one is shiny like silk, it's made of bamboo. The other one comes in 1,200 colors, and we make it in every size and shape possible. It is bamboo and wool. And then we have this beauty that is very modern, but at the same time has colors of today's interiors. This other one is a gaby, is a traditional design, but with modern colors. If you are looking for a modern or transitional rug, please come to Rugs and More at 410 Olive, and I will be happy to help you. Today on Appraisals, we have a collection of Chinese women's shoes. As painful as it may sound, the beauty of a Chinese woman was based on the size of her feet, and the ideal size was like 3 inches, and they shaped like a lotus flower. And these women, as a child, they used to bind their feet and stunt the growth, and these are just about average size for back then aristocracy and surprisingly beautiful women. So here they are. We have 5 different ones from different periods. These go back 1,000 years. Unfortunately, I don't have ones that are 1,000 years old, but here we began with the 19th century piece. It is silk with stitching. This one has felt base and has mostly tiny little glass beads. This other one, again, silk with silk, and so are the other two. They range somewhere between 100 to 300 years of age, and I would appraise the newer one for $300. The one with the felt and bead, that is about as rare as they come because the felt falls apart faster. This one is $500. As soon as we get to the older pieces, they get a bit more expensive. The most expensive one of them all is the oldest one that is like 300 years old and has a beautiful birds and dragon and the fish motifs. I would appraise this for today's market in an auction like around $3,000. Today we had the Chinese shoes. Looking forward to see you next week on appraisals.